Hey guys, it's Will with Terrible Infant. Look, we have a very different setup today. That's because I'm at home, because I am on coronavirus lockdown. We're not in the studio. We can't actually get to the studio. And so this is kind of my temporary setup that I have here. And what do I have for you today? It is a very, very exciting day. As you know, Mike and I love Andy Sidaris. We love Malibu Bay films. We love the Mill Creek releases of those films. And what I have right here in my hand, rising up into frame, hell frickin' yes. Hard Hunted, Andy Sidaris, Malibu Bay films. This movie was released in 1992, and this is the Mill Creek Blu-ray release. And what I will be doing today is reviewing. Let me get my hands out of the picture so you can see the whole kind of thing there. I'm going to review this Blu-ray. So we haven't yet done any full-on Blu-ray reviews of the Andy Sidaris films. We've talked about the Blu-ray bonus features in our reviews of the movies, which we do for our series called First Watch, but we've never done just like a straight-up Blu-ray review, and that's what I'm gonna do for you here. Roberta Vasquez, of course, right here, and Donna Spear, both very well known for appearing in a bunch of those films. So Mike and I are going to do a review of this movie as well. You can see kind of the back cover there, and so we'll talk about like our impressions of the movie in that. But suffice it to say, if you want like my little quick review, if you are a fan of Andy Sidaris, then this will absolutely not disappoint you. Like Mike and I were kind of we ranked the first 6 films in the Lethal Ladies Andy Sidaris series in a video a couple months ago, I think, and so after we watched this, we were like, "Oh, well, where would you put it?" And we both put it kind of like right in the middle. So I would say that I prefer this film to Savage Beach. I prefer it to Do or Die. I prefer it to probably honestly Picasso Trigger. It's pretty similar to Picasso Trigger. And again, we'll talk about that more in the review. My favorite Andy Sidaris film is Guns. It's not quite there. It's like just a tiny tier below Guns. But it's a really, really, really good movie. It's ridiculously fun. It's got all the stuff you love about Andy Sidaris. It even has a British villain, which is like a classic like action movie thing to have, right? Like the well-spoken British villain. So anyway, review of the Blu-ray. The movie looks really good. So as you may not know, like the Andy Sidaris movies were filmed like pretty cheaply. And there's even when you go back to the original source material and you do remasters and you do like you're working from film prints and original audio and stuff like that, stuff may not be like absolute highest quality because it wasn't kind of made that way in the first place, right? So like for instance, in Hard Ticket to Hawaii, the audio is not, it's not bad, but it's not like super pristine, clear, crystalline like audio. Like you can hear like some wind stuff in the background, and like some of the voices are a little bit muffled and like things of that nature, right? This looks really good, and like the first shot is of the ocean, and when it starts, I was kind of surprised that it looked so good. Not that I think that Mill Creek does a bad job or that Malibu Bay Films is bad at preserving these movies or anything like that, but just given the budgets that they had on those films, it looks really good. And Mike and I were actually talking about after we watched it, like, do you think they had a bigger budget on this movie? I honestly don't know, but on this release, the film looks incredible, and it sounds really, really good too. And I think this is a 4K remaster. I'm not sure if it says that on here, but I see. Oh yeah, it is available for the first time on Blu-ray from a 4K widescreen restoration. Yeah, so like they did the real deal, and they went in there and they did the restoration from the original like source materials and stuff like that. So I mean, what's the point of a Blu-ray review besides talking about the quality of the image and the audio? You talk about the bonus features. There's only a couple bonus features on here, but there's a surprisingly like big amount of material. So there's an intro from Andy Sidaris. So if you've ever seen any of the Andy Sidaris films on Blu-rays, the intros are pretty much all the same, and it's him in his like living room, I guess, with Julie Strain, who is in some of his later films. Like she's in Fit to Kill, which we have right here, which is the next one I'm going to do a Blu-ray review of, and it's the next one that Mike and I will do a movie review of. And Mill Creek released both of these, I think, in March of 2020. So today's April 1st. As of work, we'll probably put this up in a couple days, but these are like very, very recent releases, right? So Julie Strain is there, and she's topless, and she's like a foot taller than Andy Sidaris, and he's talking about the movie, and she's kind of walking around. And then for some reason, there's these 2 twins who are wearing cheerleader outfits and don't say anything, and are just kind of like standing there as Andy Sidaris talks about the movie. But so that's the intro. And then you have two other bonus features. One is the audio commentary. So the audio commentary is with Andy Sidaris and I just want to remember her name, Arlene Sidaris, who is his wife and was the producer on these films. And it seems like she had a lot of creative input on the films as well. Like, for instance, there's a scene at the beginning of this movie that in the audio commentary, they talk about how she conceived of that scene, basically, and even did storyboards for him. And he kind of changed how it was shot on the day as they were in the space and things like that. But she has a lot. I mean, obviously, they're married, right? So it's like two people working as one brain. If you're married, then you kind of know how that works, where you finish each other's sentences, and there are certain things you can't do without the other person, and it's kind of unclear who's really responsible for what, right? It all just kind of bleeds together. So, and the fact that she's a producer on these films too, like, it doesn't surprise me that they have that kind of relationship. But the audio commentary is really interesting because I'm trying to think of how to describe it. So, like, for instance, if you've ever heard of Francis Ford Coppola audio commentary, it's like the opposite of that, right? So Coppola does this thing where he has like these very kind of impressionistic memories, and he talks a lot about his artistic intent, and he talks about, like these kind of ephemeral qualities of art and things like that, right? Andy and Arlene Sidaris are basically like, here is the deal with, like, we shot this shot in Sedona, Arizona, but then when they run out of the woods in the next shot, we shot that in Hawaii, and so we had to do all this continuity stuff to edit everything together, and like, it's very much about the nuts and bolts of how they got the movie made, where they shot the movie, who is in the movie, like what it was like on the day, and they have very clear precise memories about everything. And so it's really cool to hear them just kind of going through rewatching the movie and sharing all their memories of like having made the film and like their artistic inspiration and things of that nature. So the other thing that's on here is a featurette, and I use air quotes because it's like 40 minutes long. And when I think of featurette, I think of like a 5-minute fluff piece created by a major studio as a promo to throw on YouTube to push the film, right? This is actually multiple things put together into like one long video, right? So they have what is essentially like the continuity camera that was on set, which is VHS. And it's footage of like Donna Spear, Roberta Vasquez, Rodrigo Obregon, I believe is the name of one of the actors in this film, like stuff like that of them behind the scenes actually shooting the scenes and like messing up their lines and have people giving them line readings. Andy's giving them direction. You see like the people with the camera, with the actual camera they're shooting with, and not the continuity camera, moving the camera around to get different angles. And you see like there's shots of Roberta Vasquez and Donna Spear in makeup, like showing this side of the face, that side of the face, down the arm with like bruises and blood makeup and stuff like that, so that they can replicate that the next time they have to shoot that scene or if they need to do pickups and stuff like that, right? And over all this footage, Andy Sidaris and Arlene Sidaris are talking about what the footage is, where they shot it, who's in it, and what they remember about it. So it's really, really cool. And then, so there's 3 different segments of this kind of like continuity camera, is what they call it, footage. And then you have 2 other segments that are interspersed with those that are footage. It's like footage from Return to Savage Beach, which is obviously a different movie. And this is something that they've included on other Mill Creek Blu-ray releases, and they call it their like low budget film school or something like that. And they actually break down how they shot these sequences so that people who are aspiring filmmakers who don't have big budgets or whatever can kind of learn from them, and like how we had to do this shot, that shot, we did this coverage, that coverage, this is the reason we did this and that and the third. And it's very interesting to hear them kind of talk about it. And then you have something that's very bizarre, which is, so Julie K. Smith is an actress who is in some of their later films, and there's footage of her naked and like hanging out in her house that was shot by Julie Strain. And so there's like her taking a bath, there's her brushing her teeth naked, which I don't know if that's what she commonly does or she did it because someone was filming her. There's her like lying naked on like a sofa for like getting ready for a photo shoot or something like that. It's very strange. And Andy Sidaris is talking about it like, oh, Julie used to go and film her friends naked with her video camera. Like, it's like to a T Andy Sidaris, like what you would expect, because it's like kind of facetious, but it's also just like just a bunch of naked women. for no apparent reason. And then you have a Joe Bob Briggs interview, and this is still on like the one video featurette thing. There's a Joe Bob Briggs interview with Andy Sidaris. So Joe Bob Briggs, was like a film critic slash local TV personality, I think in the 80s and 90s, and so it's him interviewing Andy about I think about Hard Hunted. And he interviewed Andy a handful of times. Like if you go on YouTube and you look it up, you can see there's like a couple of their interviews on there. So but it's fun. It's like silly. It's kind of facetious and entertaining. And like Joe Bob Briggs will say like, Andy, I've noticed that your films are kind of similar and there's a lot of boobs and a lot of guns. And he will be like, well, when men shoot guns, there's not as much jiggling. So it's like that. Also, it's so bad, but it gives you some insight into like what. But it's like very facetious. Like Andy Sidaris, if you've seen interviews with him, is like he's almost like I can't even think of like it's almost like Jason Bateman in Arrested Development, where like he's playing the straight man, but you can tell that he is aware in his own head of the fact that he's playing the straight man. It's like this meta commentary on itself kind of thing. Obviously, I don't think that like Andy Sidaris is thinking about like Brecht and like meta commentary and stuff like that, but like there's this layer of distance where you can tell he's almost like being ironic about things. But so there you go. So that's Hard Hunted. This is the Mill Creek release, and like honestly, these are dirt cheap. They're worth the price of the Blu-ray for the movie alone, because the movie is so ludicrously entertaining. You will certainly watch them again and again. If you like just like pounding some brews and watching movies, making popcorn, like hanging out with your friends and having like a Friday night movie night, like Mike and I have already watched Hard Ticket to Hawaii, Malibu Express, like a couple of those like multiple times, and in like less than one like 12-month year. They're just ludicrously entertaining. But then to have the bonus features too, like this is definitely bang for your buck. You should go out, you should get it again one more time. Malibu or the Malibu Bay Films, Hard Hunted, Andy Sidaris film. This is the Mill Creek Blu-ray release. My name is Will. You've been watching Terrible Infant. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.